Hi guys, thank you for clicking on this video. My name's Aisha and this is Aisha's Crime Tales. So today we are going to be talking about a woman named Hayley Macfarlane who, in the grips of postnatal psychosis, took the life of her baby daughter. Postnatal psychosis is a really quite scary condition, which is basically like postnatal depression on steroids. Hayley was brought up in South Yorkshire. She was bullied at school, but she still did quite well academically. When she left school at 16, she went to Barnsley College, where she went and completed her A-levels. She then went on to receive a BA in theatre, television and film at St John's University in York. Hayley went on to meet her now husband at 19 years old. Her family and friends described her as being really caring and empathetic and kind. She had no history of violence and she had no criminal record. In August of 2005, when Hayley was 21 years old, she began struggling with anxiety and depression, and she decided to go and visit her GP. She was referred to the psychological services at Shelby and York Trust, where she was prescribed antidepressants, which they seemed to work for quite a while, and after a time she ended up weaning herself off of them. Hayley and her husband, who lived together at Carrington Street in Barnsley, really wanted a baby. So when Hayley found out that she was pregnant, both of them were over the moon. On the 10th of July 2023, Hayley gave birth to a beautiful and healthy baby girl who they named Evelyn. Following Evelyn's birth, Hayley's anxiety and depression returned, which, to be fair, is quite a common occurrence. You know, postnatal depression is a real thing and it happens to quite a lot of people, and those who have had a history of anxiety and depression are a lot more likely to develop postnatal depression. So on the 20th of October, when Evelyn was 3 months old, Hayley referred herself to the perinatal mental health team at the Yorkshire Trust. Hayley told the doctors that she was worrying about getting things right for Evelyn, and she was also worried about how her mental health would be affecting her baby. She said that she felt a constant dread that her mental health was negatively impacting Evelyn, and this made her feel extremely guilty. Hayley was also worried about her daughter meeting her developmental milestones, and she couldn't be reassured that, in fact, Evelyn was fine. There was nothing wrong with her. She was meeting all of her milestones, but for some reason, Hayley just couldn't see this. Hayley reported not being able to sleep properly, and she had lost a considerable amount of weight, but she denied having any thoughts or plans to harm herself or her baby. Hayley said that she just wanted to access some professional support to help improve her mental health because of the negative impact that it could have been having on her daughter Evelyn. Then on the 24th of October, Hayley was discharged from the perinatal mental health team. Less than 1 week after being discharged, on the 31st of October, Hayley was seen by a consultant perinatal psychiatrist and a nurse from the perinatal mental health team in Dewsbury. Hayley was seen with Evelyn, who was perfectly healthy. She was meeting all of her milestones. She was feeding perfectly fine, and she was maintaining a healthy weight, despite the fact that Hayley was concerned that she was not progressing as she should be. It was thought that Hayley was suffering from postnatal depression and anxiety. She didn't take Evelyn out because she was scared of what might happen. She was also having thoughts of running away, but she never acted upon them. But then it still made her feel really guilty that she was having these thoughts. Hayley was then prescribed antidepressants and she was discharged again, but she was too anxious to take the antidepressants because she was breastfeeding, and she was worried about the effect that the antidepressants might have on her milk, which would then have on her baby. Everyone who saw Hayley in October noticed that something was wrong, but the GP and the psychiatric services never fully understood the level of psychosis that she was suffering. On the 2nd of November, 3 days after she had been discharged again, Hayley had a bit of a psychotic break. She took Evelyn downstairs, filled up a kitchen sink, then placed Evelyn into the kitchen sink and attempted to drown her. Thankfully, she regained self-control relatively quickly and took her back out of the sink. Her husband entered the room and she told him that she had had a desire to harm their baby, followed by an overwhelming urge to save their baby. She put the baby down in the baby bouncer and she left the house to go for a walk, try and clear her head. She later confessed that at this time she was considering drinking bleach. Later that same day, Hayley was admitted voluntarily at Fieldhead Hospital in Wakefield, where she was diagnosed with postnatal depression, with delusional beliefs regarding her baby's well-being, and various other psychotic symptoms. A week later, Hayley was transferred to Leeds Mother and Baby Unit, where she was reunited with her daughter, although she was still suffering with symptoms of very severe depression. She was certain in her belief that she was failing her daughter and not caring for her sufficiently. After a few days of continuing symptoms, Hayley was then prescribed antipsychotic medication, but again, she struggled with the decision on whether to take them because of the effect that it could have on her baby, who was still breastfeeding. Hayley ended up being deemed to lack capacity to consent to the admission to hospital, and she was detained under Section 2 of the Mental Health Act. Hayley seemed to respond quite well to the antipsychotic medication. She went from being quite severely depressed to being bright and cheery and reactive. She was seen to be being quite gentle with Evelyn, although at times a little bit confused. Having been detained for 28 days, which is the maximum number of days permitted to detain somebody under the Mental Health Act, and following this improvement, the section was rescinded. But Hayley decided to stay voluntarily at the hospital. Hayley remained an inpatient at Leeds Mother and Baby Unit until the 20th of December, where she was assessed by a trainee who described her progress in quite a positive way. Hayley seemed to be excited about going home for Christmas. Her husband, who had visited her quite regularly at the hospital, was leaving work and he called her to tell her that he was on his way home to go and wrap up Christmas presents. And to him, everything seemed absolutely fine. He had no reason to believe any different, and he could never, ever in a million years have predicted what might happen next. There was a Christmas party at the unit, which Hayley attended with Evelyn, and then she was permitted to go to the park with Evelyn unattended. Hayley seemed to be in good spirits when she left the unit at around 4 p.m. and went to Woodhouse Moor Park, which was just a short walk away from the hospital. While she was at the park, Hayley sent a text message to her husband. This text message said, "I want you to know how much I love you, the life we've created, and the dream of including our beautiful baby girl. 13 minutes after this text message, he received the most devastating phone call. At around 5:30 at Woodhouse Moor Park, Hayley had used a muslin cloth to suffocate their 5-month-old baby girl. She then called her husband, who was driving. She told him to pull over, and she told him that their baby girl was gone. She then got off the phone to her husband and rang emergency services. She told them everything. She told them exactly what had happened. When the police arrived, Hayley was hysterical. She was absolutely distraught. She told the police that she had just taken the life of her daughter, told them everything that had happened, said that it was awful and terrible and that she should be taken away. She told the police that she deserved whatever was going to happen to her. Evelyn was rushed to the hospital in an ambulance for life-saving treatment, but unfortunately it was too late and she was pronounced dead a short time later. Hayley was then arrested and sent to prison for a very short time, from where she was then transferred to a secure psychiatric facility. Hayley was then seen and assessed by 2 separate psychiatrics for the purpose of the court proceedings. I'm going to have to read their names and their occupations from the laptop because it's such a mouthful that I just can't get it out. So, Dr. Tayar, a consultant forensic psychiatrist employed by the Oxford Clinic Medium Secure Unit at Littlemore Mental Health Centre in Oxford, and Dr. Shenoy, who is a consultant forensic psychiatrist based in Newton Lodge Medium Secure Unit in Wakefield. Between them, they have enormous clinical experience and both have been approved under the Section 12 of the Mental Health Act. Dr. Tayar interviewed Hayley on 2 separate occasions, and he also reviewed her clinical records and the records made by clinicians at the Signet Low Security Hospital, where she had been transferred following her arrest. The formal diagnosis was postpartum psychosis, involving the onset of psychotic symptoms following childbirth. This condition is rare, but when it is presenting, it poses a very significant risk to both mother and child. Typically, the condition can be characterized by psychotic delusions, impulsivity, and a lack of insight. When Dr. Tayar assessed Hayley, he concluded that she had been suffering with this condition for a number of months following the birth of her baby girl. He said that when Hayley killed Evelyn, that she was in a state of psychosis and that her thoughts and her actions at the time were driven by psychotic experiences and beliefs. The other doctor who assessed Hayley, Dr. Shenoy, also interviewed her twice, and he came to the same conclusion, that she was suffering with postnatal psychosis, which was characterized by her developing delusional and obsessive beliefs that she was basically holding her daughter back and preventing her from reaching her milestones. Dr. Shenoy explained that postnatal depression and postnatal psychosis can be linked conditions, in the sense that severe depression, if undertreated, can turn into a psychotic state. He explained that because she had had anxiety and depression in the past, that she had the predisposition for postnatal depression. This predisposition to depression, in conjunction with her perfectionist personality type and the hormonal changes that comes with pregnancy, is what led to her depression, which then ultimately became psychosis. 28 of Hayley's friends and family provided character references. They spoke of her caring and empathetic nature and their shock and surprise at watching her fall into depression and then psychosis. Hayley sobbed in court as she was sentenced, and she pled guilty to the offence of infanticide. She admitted that on the 20th of December, she caused Evelyn's death by a willful act at a time when the balance of her mind was disturbed by not having fully recovered from the effects of childbirth. The prosecution accepted her plea on the 17th of July 2024, and she was given an indefinite hospital order. This will last for an initial 3 years before she will then be assessed by the discharge team. The judge said during sentencing, "Hayley Macfarlane, upon your conviction of the infanticide, I impose an order pursuant to Section 37 of the Mental Health Act 1983 that you be readmitted to and retained at Signet Hospital together with a restriction order under the Section 41 of that Act. If a Crown Court thinks that you are a risk to yourself or the wider public, they can add a restriction to the order. They can do this under Section 41 of the Mental Health Act. This restriction means that you can only be discharged from the hospital if the Secretary of State of Justice agrees to it." Hayley would have to spend at least 3 years in the hospital. Following this, she can be assessed periodically, and she will be released once she is deemed no longer a risk. This story is just incredibly sad, and if people had actually noticed what she was going through sooner, it could have been prevented. Hayley is now going to have to live with this. She will probably never forgive herself. She really, really wanted a baby. And then her mental health got to a point where she ended up killing that baby. This stuff actually happens a lot more than what it gets reported. So people need to be more aware of this kind of thing. You know, when your friends and family are having children, you really, really need to try and keep an eye on their mental health. It happens a lot. It's nothing to be ashamed of. But when it does happen, they need support, because nobody wants to have to go through this. And that is all for today's video. Thank you for watching. If you have something that you would like me to talk about, you can leave a comment in the comment section down below. Otherwise, please don't forget to like and subscribe. It's a free and easy way that you can support my channel. And until next time, remember to be kind to everyone around you, because you never know what someone else might be going through, and a little bit of kindness and compassion can go a long way. Bye bye for now.